Lathe, 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 lathe. Hello guys, this is Tynrael. Welcome back to another episode of New Horizons Modded Career in Kerbal Space Program. Today we are going to be ferrying this probe off to Durzo, which is just over yonder. I have calculated a node that is a good match for minimal fuel because our inclinations are offset by 90 degrees. I have to meet it at the right time, and so that's a couple days away, but it's very inexpensive, and it gets us this funny corkscrew orbit shape that actually gets us really close. And so I'm definitely going to take advantage of that, and we should have more than enough fuel to land on it. And depending on the gravity, I actually haven't checked out the statistics for Durzo, we may be able to hop to an additional biome or two. But first off, this planet I have been calling Lathe does sound an awful lot like Lathe, which I guess doesn't matter if you're playing stock, but with New Horizons they get kind of confusing. There is a forum post right now actually talking about the pronunciation of this planet, and the most amusing comment I think so far is someone said that you say it like you say Zathras, which, if you know who Zathras is, kind of makes a lot of sense. Same word, different pronunciation. So I'm going to start calling this planet Lazy with a lisp, because I thought that was also a very amusing reply to the thread, and it will make it easier to distinguish which one I'm talking about, because even though I know what I'm talking about, I also feel like they sound really similar in my head when I say them. I'm up to about 75% of my reputation, and I finally got a contract here. Return to Kerbin from orbit of Lathe. I actually got that a couple percent ago, and I did a couple more missions trying to see if I could get one that was more substantial, and I think that this may be kind of a milestone. Like once I complete it, I will actually get more missions beyond that. In addition to that, the scan for the planetary mapping is 100% complete for both of these. So the first thing I'm going to do is stop scanning. You may remember I sent probes to all the bodies in the sauna system. Some of them only went up to about 80%. I was waiting for them to finish, and I forgot about that. I had them scanning in the background because that's an option that you can have for ScanSat the entire time, and so it was definitely eating up. I think it was responsible for some of the lag I was receiving. But now that these are done, I can actually analyze the data and send it home. 82 science is quite a lot for just that one. And then I have 2 of them, so another 82 science for the height information. But an interesting thing that I noticed, which I hadn't expected, was if I look at the big map, I had assumed that there were only going to be 2 biomes, the ocean and then the land. But the land is actually broken up. You might not be able to see it very well on the screen, but over here at the bottom it shows the biome. So it actually has poles, the Sagan Sea, and then the land is split into the dunes and shores. So I will probably come back here with a rover, try to land on the ground, and drive around to get both of those biomes. But before we continue with our mission here at Lathe and Durzo, there is something that we really do need to wrap up. Here's the craft Experience Machine Rescue. The name should signify what it is for. And let's take a look at the Experience Machine 2 all of these Kerbals have been very patient. They did not quite make it home. And if you take a look at the T+ for their countdown, they've been on their mission for 351 days. So before we send Bob to Lathy and go explore Dorso, let's get them home and see how much experience we get. Eventually, I would actually like to also send them on a flag planting mission to CKAN. I think that with enough upgrades in technology, I may be able to build a craft that can land on CKAN and take off with 8 Kerbals. It should be possible. But this will be, let's see what we get. And they're all finally home. Hopefully Bill will level up enough to be useful in his capacity as an engineer. So the science from the contracts is fairly minimal, but preliminary information and science gained from Bob and the probes has got me up to almost 1,000. I have not built any new craft that would require me to have new parts, really. But we will have a lot more science to push up through the tech tree when we complete our mission with Lathy. And it looks like everyone is up to level 2 except for Cursor and Hygela, which we picked up. Why would Cursor not level up to 2? He's already 2. Okay. He's been to Apter, Sauna, CKAN, and the Moon. So we have a maneuver in 2 days to get to Dorso. And I love how agile this craft is because it's so tiny. I can just swivel it around with ease. Let's see what type of science we get from here, whether it's close or far orbit. In space near Dorso. So let's send all of these home. So that gets us all of the useful experiments from this upper portion, and we should have enough battery power. I thought I had batteries on here. I'm slightly concerned now. What's my electrical charge? Oh, what did I have blow up? Oh, the back end of my rescue ship. But electrical charge, 810. I mean, these two are only 400, so I have 400 more battery power somewhere. Oh, I have them here in the center of my craft. Okay, I just wanted to make sure before I sent a lot of my power off into space. But I'm going to decouple that to get rid of the weight. We'll soon be very light once we burn off this 300 meters a second of fuel. And because this is a ship designed to scan the planet, we might as well do so. That looks like a T to me. How does that wrap up on the other side? Okay, I think that looks good. Durso is home to one of the most prominent impact sites in the system. That is clearly marked by this large spot here. And it has no atmosphere, so I'm not too worried about being low there, although it may diminish the returns on my scan. I'm not going to worry about it. Let's get these guys going. Suboptimal at 225,000. So I think the optimal is actually further away. But this planet is, or the moon is so small that this is rather a large swath through it, so a couple orbits should probably capture a good amount. Electrical charge is steady in the sun at least. And because I decided to scan the planet, we may not hop across more than one biome, depending on how much fuel it will take to end up landing on Durso. But now it is time for the meat and potatoes of this episode, where we are going to tailgate Bob all the way to Lethe. So Bob has a ridiculous amount of fuel left in this current stage that is set up in a way where it's not something that I can tie to the return home mission and still send Bob down to Lethe because the way it's detached. So I don't think it's practical to try landing on Durso with this, but if I have enough fuel, I may orbit around and just get some extra science from around there. And we should be about 1.7 million away when we get there. Let's see if that's changed. Looks about right. Yeah, I've got lots of monopropellant, so I'm not worried about it. So for the sake of this burn, I'm going to temporarily shut down these external engines and reduce the thrust on the central engine to just 9. Because 3.3 meters a second to shift 1.5 million is pretty focused. $238, that's even closer. Now we have nothing to do except get Bob here. So we need about 1200 meters a second of delta V to get captured. And these engines are off, so they're not showing in the current stage delta V. So let's activate those and see what we have to work with. So we have more than double that. So that was actually a pretty easy maneuver to set up so that I get a flyby for Durso and end up almost the same place. Orbit is the same, it's just rotated around. And it only costs 286 meters a second delta V. So we overshot that a little and we're on an impact course, but that's something I can easily fix later. While I'm all the way up here, I might as well see what... Oh, stop wasting RCS. What Bob can get for some experiments high above of Lathy. You get the feeling you're being watched. 15 science. There is no matter around to be either hot or cold except the spacecraft and the thermometer itself. That's interesting. Even the goo seems to be looking at you now. It seems that the theme of Durso is paranoia. The giant eye in space. That makes a lot of sense. In fact, I can see it watching me from here. Now, I haven't actually read them, but I've seen a large number of posts in the forums with titles similar to "What's wrong with the atmosphere in Lathy?" or "What's going on with aerobraking in Lathy?" And so it sounds like with 1.04, a lot of the atmospheres became a lot harsher. So what I really want to do is make sure I use the remaining fuel I have to have a shallow entry, because I have it's got some structural support, but the shape of this ship is not aerodynamic in the way that I want to enter anyway. I mean, I could do ballistic head first, but that is not my plan. Okay, I think that this is a good time to do a stage separation. This is full of fuel, Why would these not be full? That's alarming. I'm very glad that I took a look at some of these tanks before I actually jettisoned this extra fuel. It looks like my... What would these be? being used by? I guess these were being prioritized over my large tanks. I didn't think that that would happen. So we'll jettison those. Time warp away from them a little. And separate this from Bob's craft. So now that I have this selected, let's actually balance these. So it looks like I have about 80% of the fuel I anticipated to have on the way home. If I have a successful... I overcompensated in most areas, anticipating that things would not go to plan all the time. I may be able to come up with more fuel than I need to get off of Lathy and be able to put it in here. Back towards the retro. This is getting more and more difficult to control. Further into the atmosphere I get. The whooshing sounds are decreasing, and we are solid for a water landing. Now hopefully these 8 parachutes will be enough to prevent catastrophic explosions. I sank a little low to actually be able to access any of the experiments with Bob, unfortunately. Where's my scuba gear? I want that. Science. Anyway, surface sample is worth 126. Now what I like to do with the surface samples is I like to get 2. So what I mean by that is I'll get one, I will transmit it back for a low portion of science, and then I will go get another one to bring home. I may not be able to see it anyway. Let's see if I go above them, if I can see Durzo somewhere. So Durzo is there. I'll zoom in here. Oh, so I actually can see it kind of off in the distance. So there's Durzo. You won't be able to see it too well, but you'll know that it's there. And Bob made it to Lathy with his ship by an island, and he can see Durzo. That's quite a success. Now, with these parts sunken in the water and only 80% fuel remaining for the return home craft, the next challenge is going to be seeing how efficient we can be on our escape from Lathy. And that will have to wait for the next episode. And so again, thank you guys for watching. I hope that it's something that you are enjoying. Feel free to comment, like, and or subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next episode.